Hello and welcome to everybody out there who's going to be joining us today for an insightful conversation. I'm hoping that you're going to be inspired and motivated to connect with yourself and learn lots of amazing things. I want you to use and engage in the chat function, send us your questions, and let us know what you want to ask our amazing guest today, which is going to be the Yogi of Sound, Professor Surinder Singh Ji, who has dedicated his life to reviving and pioneering the movement of reviving Sikh music, the traditional Sikh instruments, but especially opening the space for Sikh music as a tool for therapy and wellness. These were the intentions with which the Sikh gurus had created this music and this particular discipline as a space of empowerment for all human beings to connect with their emotions. And that is what we want you to be able to connect with. If you are not currently aware, Raj Academy is sharing an amazing emotional listening toolkit. Today is the last day that it's available. If you haven't already signed up for it, please hit the link that will be in the comments in a second, or head over to the Raj Academy website, rajacademy.com, and click the button which says Start Your Journey. That will take you to the Emotional Listening Toolkit, which is an insight as to how you can use Gurbani and Kirtan, Rag, and Sikh music, whichever name you want to give it, in a practical way to deal with your emotions and empower yourself. These were the techniques of emotional intelligence that the Sikh gurus had paved the way for. Today, we're going to be talking with Professor Surinder Singh Ji, the Yogi of Sound, and asking questions about the toolkit that he created in 2001. So 20 years ago, this amazing toolkit was unleashed for the wider community, but not many people know about it. So we're hoping that today you're going to learn about it and you're going to share your exciting wisdom and learnings with others to help them be inspired and connect with their emotional wellness. So please join me in welcoming the incredible, the wonderful, the delightful Yogi of Sound. Satkartar, Yogi Ji.
Satkartar.
Thank you for joining us and for being with us in this space to have conversations with you where we're going to quiz you and ask you about you released in 2000.
I think the connection got dropped a little bit. If you can kindly repeat your
Yes,
question.
these are the joys of going live on the internet. So please bear with us through our little technical fun difficulties. I would like you to just give us a brief insight as to what inspired you to create this project. What was the driving force behind it? And I have a bunch of questions which our wonderful audience has sent in, and I'll be asking their questions on their behalf to you through the process of this Q&A. But if you could just give us a little bit of an insight as to what inspired the project.
Thank you. The project was basically, it was just a question which took me to the project. The question was what this asa is, what does it mean, why is it there, or what the powers of Maj or Tukhari or Vadhans, why Guru Nanak Ji and other gurus are using this. What is the purpose behind it? How can we use that? How can we, how was it? What was really behind it? And why did gurus, is it a musical measure? Is it entertainment? Are we supposed to, just entertain the world? Or do we need to, or there's more than this, more than entertainment?
Right.
Because we worshipped Bani. We do worship Guru's Bani. We try to learn from the wisdom. And therefore, there has to be more than entertainment, right? So that took me to the journey. And more I looked into with this question, more deeper I went into the quest because there was hardly anything there. Yes, people will talk about, say, we should sing Guru's Bani, Guru's Way. There were a few ragis which will sing one rag, and there was classical, Indian classical music hype. There was a skill required. There was a musical background was required, and you're supposed to be from one of those gharanas and all of those things, which I was not prepared for. I always thought there has to be more than music. And there was when I went to the journey to learn about it. What was the purpose behind Kirtan? You know, if we are singing something, we have to ask ourselves this question: what are we singing for? What are we trying to say that cannot be expressed through the words? And that was the key. That was the path. That was the road took me to prepare this, to walk on to um, compiling this. I was not trying to be the pioneer on this. I was not trying to be the first. I wasn't trying to be in this race. I need to do this. I need to look different. I was just doing it for me. How will it sound? All of these rags of Sri Guru Granth Sahib, the Bani as it's been prescribed. Because the big question was that the community I am from, they believed in Sri Guru Granth Sahib more than they believed into anything. They'll put millions. They will put their life. They'll give anything and everything. But when it comes to learning from Guru, doing what Guru was saying, that was not showcased. At least when I was there in those days, it was not available as much it is available nowadays. Asa Shabad in Asa, chanting, reading, understanding, feeling the Bani of Maj and Maj, and trying to connect the way Guru prescribed it. So that was the whole purpose that I went into this journey.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. What process did you go through to select which shabads to sing? Because in total we have 60 rags in the Guru Granth Sahib, and each of those rag chapters have an abundance of different shabads in each of those particular categories. So how did you actually go through the process of selecting which shabads you were going to sing and compose?
Sometimes there are just one rag and one shabad. That's it. Like, for example, Rag Gaudi Deepki, there's only one shabad. So I didn't have a choice. But where there was a bigger chapter like Siri Rag or Maj, in Sikhs, there is a very big thing about the hukam, taking the hukams. So I will go into the chapter, I will go into the Siri Rag chapter, and then ask Guru, what should I do? Which Shabad will you help me to configure, understand, and will bless me with that composition? I'm nobody to select, but yeah, through that procedure, I'll just open and what is there at front. I will try to relate to that. I will try to configure that, churn that emotionally in my life and see what happens and how it evolves. Sometime one Shabad I had to make so many compositions with and see what goes with my life, what is that I can live or I already have lived. I can make it tangible. As I must say, I was no singer, I never prepared myself to sing on stage and or sing as a playback singer or record in studio. None of those. That side I wasn't interested. I went into kirtan for myself to connect myself with the Guru. It was a very personal one-on-one journey. And I was thinking one day I'll share these with my children. That was like the biggest game was, or the plan was this. Basically, that was it. But when it evolved, when it became all completely as big as Mere Mun, in first shot we did 59 out of 60 rags, in Mere Mun. And it was it was very exciting. But I always thought the blessings, Jasvir, the Guru's blessing, it was the Shabad kind of picked the moment. And what we call it in Punjabi is Zariya, through me. I was just there. So sometimes I say Shabad chose me.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a very unorthodox way to compose. But I appreciate you being honest and open, because the idea of Sikh music and kirtan is very which has more logical approach to it. And what you're talking about is following your intuition and your inner connection and being guided by that hukam to take you into the right place of sharing the right message. And that's really very powerful. One of the questions that was sent in was asking the question that if the composition process was driven by the meaning of the Shabad. So now you've been guided to which Shabads you need to compose, and you're sitting with your composer hat on. How did you make that connection musically and with yourself? What was the process?
It's a very, composer there's two ways. I always see, there's two sides to this coin of a composer. One is a musical composition. You decorate things and you want to impress your audience, your viewers. On the other side of composition is that trying to connect yourself with the concept. Yeah, meanings of the Shabads are always very important and always will be. That is the core message. But how do I connect my emotional existence with it? So my composition was coming in as a musicologist, that psychologically, how is it tangible? How can I make sense of it? How do I tally my emotions? How do I feel them? How do I express them? And what is Guru experiencing? And what Guru is expressing through this emotional grammar of rag, can this be felt even today in this circumstances or this situation through this Shabad? And as a composer, I will read many other Shabads in the same chapter if they were available. Sometimes there's only one Shabad, there are sometimes 6 or 7 Shabads in some chapters. And I will try to go through them and see if there is a consistency in a message. if there's a secret in the poetic realms, I didn't want to miss, because I didn't had much of experience in when it comes to recording. Trust me, when you record it, it is there. It's there forever. Your mistake is there. I wanted to give my best shot, and I thought the best shot, the foolproof composition will be if that can be applied on me. So I was more coming in from emotional side, the meaning of the rag,
Mm.
and that connection of the Shabad from the meanings of the Shabad, then applying it to my life, saying, is there a tangibility? And this is how I selected. So it was not that I wanted to read, because through the Santya, or through the training of the Shabd, I understood that the meanings can be changed, is subject to one's own understanding. So there can be cultural, there can be economical, physical ability, and not having that ability. All of these things plays a role when it comes to our situations will influence the meanings, and they're supposed to be personalized. But I was looking into it, what is Guru's purpose, Guru's
Mm.
way, and how can I use that? So I had to look into the poetic meter. I had to look into how it's dividing, how the rhythm is flowing, what is the core message, how other shabads next to it supporting. Does all of these things make sense? But the basic primary parameter was, do I feel it?
Mm.
Does it influence me? Does it impact? Can I connect to this?
Yeah.
And this is how I selected it.
Wow. Wow. I think that for me, that's what makes it powerful. The first time that I listened to Mere Mun, it was one of my first experiences of listening to Kirtan in Rag, and especially listening to Kirtan in Rag with string instruments, which back then, in the early 2000s, was very rare to be able to have that experience. And it was. Um, the same analogy, if you imagine a kid in a candy store where you just go crazy because there's everything looks great and colorful, and it's like this amazing sensory experience. That's what it was for me when I listened the first time to Rag Geet, and it was on Mere Mun. Um, and my mind and my heart were almost just submerging into the indulgence of everything that was going on, and I couldn't really understand why this felt different. I mean, I listened to Kirtan all my life growing up. My dad was a massive fan of Srinagar Wale and Jagadri Wale, and it was like that was the stuff my dad liked. And I grew up listening a lot and being involved in a Khand Kirtani circle. So my taste for Kirtan had been tuned differently, and this felt so different, almost like a new language of music. And at first it was a bit uncomfortable because I didn't quite get it, and it kind of like went over my head intellectually that um i i I was at risk of almost rejecting it just because I was afraid of understanding it. But what it did inside me was magical. That's the only word I can use that captures what I actually felt. And for me, it makes sense because the intention that you put into it is what the listener will receive on the end, whether they're consciously aware of it. But I think it's really magnificent for people to understand that it wasn't just, you didn't just go into a room and mechanically work on this project that, oh, I want to be famous and I'm going to record 59 tracks in one go, and I'm going to sing on all of them, and I'm going to compose all of them, and I'm going to co-produce all of them as well. Um, that there was much more behind it. And I think that people who don't know or who have never asked you, wouldn't understand why you embarked on the project the way that you did, that why did you single-handedly play multiple roles? And they might be misconstrued and think that it's about ego. But the truth is, and I know this, I'm speaking on your behalf right now, but please add in a second, was that there was a limited amount of resources. People didn't have the expertise and the know-how of the rags back then. Am I correct in saying that?
Indeed, it's not that I didn't try, but wherever I will try for a composition, even in Indian um, primary Indian rags, there are 28 of them in Sri Guru Granth Sahib out of 60. But whenever I will ask, they will bring their own. It was more of the skill set, and my primary purpose was not showcasing talent, showcasing a skill. I wanted to feel Gur Prasad. I wanted to feel
Mm,
Shabad. I wanted to not just hear beautiful composition, beautiful voice. I wanted to hear life
mm,
behind it. And whenever I went to renowned people, beautiful voices, trained people, it wasn't happening. It was not happening. I won't name the institution I went to. Uh, I never thought actually till 1998, actually, I never thought that I will be singing all of this. I thought some kids, some old people, some young, some females, some, normal people. There must be Gursikhs out there who believe in Guru's Kirtan, Guru's way, with Guru's instruments,
mm,
and, they experienced it. Because I met one. I met when I was about 15 or 16, I met this incredible gentleman uh, by Surjan Singh. It's not the famous Surjan Singh. The you listen to the Kirtan. It was an old man, and I happened to hear him taking a walk hukum from the Guru on the day of Vaisakhi. And when he took this Shabad of Baramah to give Sangat, like the, that monthly kind of, from the Maj,
yeah,
they read this Shabad Vasak Tiran Kyo Vadiya. And
mm,
when he opened his mouth, I could not control. I crumbled to ground
mm,
because he hit all the Rag Maj's emotional property. It resonated my soul. And I just wanted to, I guess I wanted to hear that more and more and more. But there was a life behind when he went, Vasak Tiran Kyo Vadiya. It's just, it still resonates with me. And so I was thinking, some of Bapuji, he passed away, I mean, while I was still in training. So I was in search for those people. Maybe these people I'll utilize. I know I am inspired by their life, but it wasn't happening. So yes, I never thought I would be doing all of this by myself. But uh, not that I had a life. I'm not saying that I had that jivan. I was trying here. I was on the receiving end. I was looking for the impact, not skill's impact, not the musical connection. I was looking for, hey, is it gonna do something to me? What is the purpose of Berari? Is it helping me? Is it gonna help me? Is it still same? Can I connect to the Shabad? Can this take me away from who I am? And when they
mm.
managed to do that in the making of composition, that's where I decided I would be singing those that way.
Wow. Um, we have a little bit of a technical delay, I think, with your video, so it's just freezing in between. If there's anything that you can do, otherwise we leave it to the internet gods to help us out during this process. And
This
to everybody who's tuning in, please enjoy the beautiful sound as we're talking, just in case our picture freezes. So please bear with us. Um, for me, I think one of the things that is really important is appreciating that we have a resource as adequate and wonderful as Mere Mun available. Thinking about the fact that this was created 20 years ago, 20 years ago, um, we don't have any other resources which help us to connect with Rag Kirtan, Sikh music, Nad Yoga, Gurmat Sangeet in the same way. Um, Nothing else has advanced further, unfortunately, in our community. And for me, that makes me a little sad, but at the same time grateful that at least we do have this as a very, very good quality, high level resource, because the people involved and the process involved was very intentional. And at the time when this was launched into the world, I think it's important to give context as to where we were. And I'd like you to be able to give us that context, Yogi Ji, because you were living this on the ground. How how much awareness was there about Sikh music, Rag Kirtan, and Sikh instruments at that time in England? So in the early 2000s.
diaspora was like, when I came here, I was thinking like, where am I? In India, probably there were people enthusiastic about Indian classical. Some musical things were happening there. But when I came here, nothing. Nothing. People hardly maintained any basic tune. There were a lot of filmy songs, Punjabi songs. It was just Sunday was a ritual, and the Gurdwara, it was more food than, and there was nothing happening when it comes to instruments. Whenever I asked about the instrument, they will say, "Oh well, this particular sect in the Sikh Namtaris, they do the classical, they do the real stuff." For me, that wasn't good enough. Yeah, I had to reach out to them to get to this point. Hired people, went through the process, but there wasn't actually any interest here. People were not thinking. It's not that I blame them. They were diaspora still not thinking. They are oblivious to some core values, core things that Guru Nanak Sahib created this Bani and made a hukam for us. Like right after the Japji Sahib, Guruji says, Sodar Rag Asa Mehla Pehla. And why we are missing out to that? What this Sodar means and Rag and Asa Mehla Pehla is a part of Bani, isn't it? Why they are not thinking about that? And when it came to Asa, I had to look into, when my teacher told me that it's a mood that you are experiencing, is conversation happening between your mind and soul. And I said, a mood, but how do I get to understand that? He said, you got to feel. I said, feel what? Feel emotions. So Kirtan was emotional toolkit. Kirtan was prepared by Guru Nanak Sahib to create the revolution amongst the humans so that they can feel the life, so that they can have a leverage, they can live, they can build a better society. Guru Nanak Ji was empowering humanity, and the method he chose was not religion. The method he chose was education, awakening people through the sound. Like I got really impressed by this analogy once. My teacher used, he said, say, I said, okay, He said, no, have a patasa. Patasa is like a sugar little bubble, sugar, and I had, and he said, now say. And the taste and the sugar rush is amazing. And I said, He said, okay. And he said, don't say, don't stretch, just cut it. As much you emphasize on and same thing you do. It went like, He said, what is the difference? And what is the difference? And that's what Guru Nanak Ji empowering you, so you can listen to what's happening to you inside, how you are getting impacted. What is your asa? It's so that you can have that one-on-one with Guru Nanak Sahib. You can be in a sangat with your Guru, Sabad Guru. So you have to put your surat, your focus into that, so that you can listen to Guru Mukhi, what the Guru is telling you, and make Kirtan as a Guru Prasad. And that was big for me. And when it happens to be here in England, life was upside down. Life wasn't straightforward. It was not thousands of rupees, it was thousands of pounds. And I could not afford those things. Resources were limited. But once, the Ardas, the Sikhs being blessed by that, you put your hands together and you put heart into it. And then Guru Sahib says, Uddam karo, karave hi ape. So I took that step, and rest was in the Guru's hand. And look, Guru did wonderful thing, amazing thing.
You're such an inspiration, Yogi Ji. I have no words to respond to everything that you said. I'm from my own perspective, I can offer you my thanks and gratitude for putting this work out there, especially understanding at that time. And when I first started to discover and understand more about what Rag Kirtan is compared to regular Kirtan that we usually consume in Gurdwara, or 99% of Kirtan out there is non-Rag. And I didn't know that until the point that I had met you. And that was when I started to research and explore more about what was authentic in Sikh practice, and how, what were the factors that led to the changes in our practices, especially where it comes to Kirtan. I was oblivious to all of those differences. I thought that Guru Gobind Singh played the vajra, the harmonium. That was what I grew up believing, because that is all I had ever been exposed to. Um, so when I had the chance to learn this from you, I I didn't appreciate at that point how rare and unique that opportunity was, simply because of the lack of access to this information on the global frontier. There's Sikhs across the world who, in this day and age, in 2021, are probably hearing this for the first time, where they may not know that Kirtan is intended, according to Gurbani, to be sung in specific rag. And the difference between the kirtan that is in Mere Mun versus kirtan that is in classical rag. These are like languages which people have become confused with because they don't know the differences. Um, how would you help the average person understand the difference between the quality or the type of kirtan that you've produced in Mere Mun compared to other kirtan or classical kirtan that's available?
I cannot really, I can't criticize what's happening out there. All I can say is that what Guruji's hukam is, when you will remove yourself, your knowledge, when we go to seek, we put the hands together. And Guru Prasad, we take Prasad like this in our hands. And if we become this, then all the skills, like beggars cannot be choosers. Like we are seeking, I'm not saying we're beggars, but at front of the Guru we are, because we don't have that skill. We are at front of the Guru for the Gaur. And when we go to have that Gaur from the Guru, then we need to leave everything what we know. Oh, we read this, Gyan Dhyan Kich Karma Na Jana, Sar Na Jana Teri, but we just utter the words, but we take our knowledge. We think we have focus. We think we learned. And we take all of those things at the front of Guru Sahib, and then we impose what we know is the only thing and the right thing. Like Indian classical, oh, Rag Kirtan, oh, I don't like this genre because we have given different names. Basically, it is Kirtan. Kirtan, either it is Guru's way, either it's not. And for me, it's a simple, when it is not Guru's way, it is not Kirtan. At least what I am looking for. I'm not interested in, I'm not telling the world to not to do that. I mean, everybody is on their own journey. And if you think you know more than Guru Sahib, then it's fine. You know, you're responsible for your life, your decision. For me, I don't know anything. I don't know more than Guru Sahib. This is an ocean. I'm still every single day just exploring new things, beautiful things, amazing things. And for me, Kirtan is when I let go. And Kirtan is that program which helps me to become one with that one. When Guru's Gaur, Guru's technique, Guru's blessing removes my ego, hijacks me, totally brings me at zero and rewrite my entire life. For me, that is what Kirtan is. And yet there is beautiful, amazing things out there. Classical, non-classical, light, folk, pop, new age, all of these things. There are many things. If those things are working for you, hey, congratulations. Amazing. For me, they didn't. For me, Guru's Bani, Guru's way, Guru's Bani is the miracle. For me, it was important for me to understand what it is exactly means. For me, Katha was not the meanings I need to understand, from Sikh to the Max or this program or that app. No. For me, Katha was that when the sound strikes my ear, what I hear after that inside me. How does the Shabad reveals itself in my sort and my focus? For me, that was the Katha. That was the Suniye. And I had to feel for me to decide that I am going to use this composition or not, or record it or not. Trust me, picking up 60 out of 3,000 was not easy thing. 4,000 compositions.
Yeah, I can imagine. I don't think that that was an easy task at all. In short, for everybody who's tuning in, I'm just going to summarize what you said because I want to be able to give a clear definition. The kirtan that's available in the Mere Mun album, in that collection, is sung according to the rag that is prescribed to that specific shabad. So it's following the hukam, the direction, the instruction, and the guidance given by Guru in terms of how we should consume and connect with the shabad. And we would assume that this is the norm, this is how kirtan everywhere is sung and performed, but that's not actually the case. The 99%, which is the majority of the kirtan that we access, is not sung that way. And the other unique thing about the shabads and the kirtan you'll hear in Mere Mun is that throughout the whole album, you will not hear the harmonium. You will hear the traditional string instruments that were created by the Sikh gurus to be used with this particular music. And in terms of the other definitions or other styles of kirtan that are out there, like classical kirtan or rag kirtan, not rag kirtan, that's what we're doing, but there's like misconceptions in those arenas as well, where people mix and match. So they'll pick a rag from the Guru Granth Sahib with a different shabad, put it together and say, this is rag kirtan or this is classical kirtan. And the philosophy or the school of thought that we come from and that we practice here in Raj Academy is to remove our own understanding and our own access to ego and become the learners in the space where there is one guru, there is one teacher, which is the Guru Granth Sahib, and we are there to learn and follow the instructions as they're set out. And that's the experience that we're trying to share with the wider Sangat and the wider community as well, is what does learning look like when we remove our ego? And that's the journey that Sikhi invites you to take when you step truly in the space of the learner and follow the guru. So I'm going to remind you guys, if you haven't ever had a chance to experience that before, follow that link that you see on the screen, which is rajacademy.com/Mere Mun. Check out the emotional listening toolkit. Today is the last day that you can access it. Please, I encourage you to go on that experience so that you can explore how to apply and use rag in your daily life. Rag Kirtan is not there just for you to listen to and enjoy in the background, but it's a practical way for you to actually connect with yourself and your emotions. And coming back to this amazing project, Yogi Ji, which was the first shabad that you began composing, or the first rag that you began composing when you sat down to embark on this humongous work?
I actually don't know. I mean, honestly, I can't answer this.
You don't remember?
Honestly, I know. I remember very first incidents of when I knew that I can compose. I went out and sold my compositions. I was still in senior school, and I made, I think, 5,000 rupees. In those days, that was a huge pocket money for an entire year. And I got in trouble with my teacher because I made a composition which was not according to Guru's hukum, and I was guilty. But my teacher understood that I have skill to use this proper way. So at that time, the very first composition I remember, which I didn't use in this, was in Rag Gujri, because I always thought we think we have all the time of life, but we don't. So the very first composition I consciously, on the path of Guru Nanak Sahib's philosophy of sound, philosophy of being, I made was in Rag Gujri. And
Okay.
second was in Asa, but I didn't use those two compositions.
So when you started Mere Mun and you're working on this project, and you're in the studio or wherever you are and you're doing your composition work, do you remember which was the first rag from this project of Mere Mun that you started composing?
I think, no, I don't know which one was the first one, but the very first one I sung in the studio was Rag Maj. The very first day, first take, first shot was Rag Maj. But that was not the composition I made. I don't actually remember which Shabad I was blessed with very first time. I have no recollection of that.
So why was it that you picked Marge to record first in the studio?
I was just so overwhelmed, and that the longing, that connection, that what was driving me crazy. That moment, will I connect? Will, like, behind this glass door, there's 15 other people in the studio with their instrument. These are classically renowned, known musicians, powerful people. will I be able to still the magic of Bani?
Mm.
It's just amazing. When I opened my mouth, I lost myself. And it's a Shabad, you know. Bani vajay, sabd vajay, as Guru Amar Das Ji says. You need to let go. You know, this is why I say when you know that you know, then there's nothing to know. And
Mm.
when Guru Nanak Ji says, Chauto prem khelan ka chao, sir tar tali gali meri aao. And that doesn't mean that is not the literary meaning that bring your head on your hand. Means like whatever you know, leave it out there.
Mm.
And I did that. I managed to, for those 2 3 4 moments I did, and it was amazing. It's still,
Wow.
I still get goosebumps.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And were there any moments where you felt anxious or nervous during the project?
The sooner I was out of the booth, yes. When the food was late, the team was looking at me, yes. But with the Shabbat, no, never.
What was one of your most memorable moments when you were in the studio with all of these musicians, these classically trained musicians that you've hired from India, brought them over to England, and you guys are living in the studio for like months on end? Um, what was one of your most memorable moments?
The memorable moment was this old man from, I think, from South, someplace from India, who came to play for the South Indian composition, Dakkani composition, 6 of them in Sri Guru Granth Sahib. And everything was happening so nice. And he just stopped, and his hands were together, and he was moving back and forward like this. And when I approached him, and through the interpreter, he's told me that he felt like what he felt when he was 8 or 9 or 10 in his village, going to the temple, listening to kirtan the way they do it. And he said, I was there. And for me, that was amazing, humongous reward. Such a renowned, such a powerful, who spent like 50 years in this field of music, hearing that from a person, that it's a feeling that what he felt in the temple.
Wow.
For me, that was the moment where all the tiredness, all the worries, everything disappeared completely. I mean, it wasn't really there, but from my face, there was also, physically, socially, and economically, when you are into these situations, you do think sometime what your mind doesn't. But um, at this moment, I think everything was lined up finally.
Wow. That's that's incredible. That's incredible, especially when it comes from somebody from a different path or a different faith.
Because he didn't understand what I was saying. He didn't
Hmm.
understand the language. It was just mutually, the feelings, the moods were exchanged. And Guru Nanak Ji singing that Shabad in Dakkani. It was a
Right.
Ramakali Dakkani when he was playing uh, with, and I, like, what else? That's the evidence. This is how Guru Nanak Ji communicated with those people, and his Bani was doing still the same wonders. And for me, that was good prasad.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. I'm overjoyed just hearing that. I have a few more questions for you. One that came in was, how can I let sound become me?
Let go.
Hmm.
When if there is me, still me, this is the me, which does the whole problem area is when we exist, when we know who we are, what we are. The goals we set for ourselves is our goals. We set it. We want it. We need it and we control it. If somebody want to become doctor, that's their goal. They set it for themselves, and that's what they want to become. For life to serve you, we have to be neutral and natural. We need to become neutral. It's like, being in a pool and doing nothing. The water does everything. You have no idea that you can swim or not.
Right.
When you go a little, even finger goes stiff, you drown. You need to let go completely. That's not easy. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, who's 400 years we're celebrating this year, he says his birthday, 400th birthday. In one of his shabad, he says, Jan Nanak ek khel ghathan hai. This game in life, this game is very, very, very difficult. And you need to play this. You need to be in a way that when you want to become one with one, where Guru Nanak Ji is starting from Ik Onkar, becoming one with that creator, that one who created us. And therefore, we need to let go the me, isn't it? This is who I am. This is who I want to become. This is how I would like. This is the right thing. According to me, this is the wrong thing. This is what my understanding about religion is. I don't really care about what the nature is saying, what is the law of nature is. It is a suitability matter. So that's how it is. I mean, we are so worked up with me. So if you want to become, if you want actually sound to help, we all want that. We all are looking for that connection, the sangat with the sound, to have sound life. We need to let go. Expectations are very high, right? We are expecting. Expectations are big, big, big.
Yes, we expect always a lot of things. That's very true. I'm very conscious of the time, and I have lots of questions, so I'm going to have to pick a few which spring out a little bit more. What was were there any obstacles that you encountered in this process? And if you could name maybe just one or two of them?
I don't think there were many issues or obstacles. I think some cultural shifts were there. I didn't understand the partner in who came forward to help me, Sardar Daljit Singh. I didn't really like. I was very new to this country, and the lifestyle is different. And again, working with those people who are not from, they don't have same values the way you think the Bani is, and somebody who is known as Sikh but doesn't practice Sikhi. So judgment sometimes comes, and sometimes they're very difficult. But really, there was not a big obstacle. I was able to communicate through them. So very focused and determined that I need to do this. I need to finish this. By the Guru's grace, I think everything happened okay without any. There's not really an incident that I remember that, hey, this was a hurdle.
That's good to know. And was there any particular rag that you struggled with when you were composing compared to the others?
Rag Gaudi Maj. was one of the big challenge for where I struggled for literally 9 months for this composition. 9 months. I thought I was cruising. I was, the day I thought I was cruising through, that's where Rag Gaudi Maj was. I got stuck. And it was not connecting. It wasn't happening. I was so frustrated, so down. And I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move forward either. Because this was an important junction. And this is how Guru teaches us, isn't it? So my head was down, hands were together, and begging for forgiveness and asking for the blessing. And through Gaudi Maj, that's what happened.
Wow, that's amazing. And you mentioned that you, at that time, you were very new in England. So you're in a foreign country, you're meeting new people, you're doing this amazing, incredible project. Why is it that you chose to compose, produce, and publish this project in England instead of in India? Because most people would probably run to India or something, some other country where it's cheaper to hire people. All of the people that you called were all from India, and essentially you could have gone there and saved a lot of money on the production and everything else. Why did you chose to do this? Or why did you choose to do this project and the entire production of it in England?
Decolonizing it. That's why. It's all of this shift came in this gap. The Sikhs are, I am being a Sikh, suffering. This gap is because of the British colony India became, and how they imposed their interpretation of what Sikhism is. And they went there, they did all of that, and we were suffering. We lost Rabab, Saranda, Taus, Dilruba, Jodi. We lost the rag as is prescribed by Guru singing. We lost its musicological angle, the feeling sector. They pushed us into performance, just pleasant to ears. For me, the day I came in to the country, just in first week, I visited a house in Swindon, and I was told this was the house where Shahid Udham Singh lived for years.
Wow.
And for me, that was like, we Punjabis do respect our martyrs,
Yeah.
who served us with their life. So for me, it was clear that whatever I do in my field, I cannot look for the shortcuts. I have to do it, because everything was here. The museums, their manuscripts, their personal notes, diaries, and in France. And so this was perfect place for me to get the Rabab, the real map, or Saranda, and be very sure that this is the right Taus that I've seen in the hands of my teacher. So it was important for me to record it from the London. So that was basically, it's just a very personal thing.
Wow, but really, really powerful. And I think these are things that I know because I've studied with you and I've asked you these questions before, but um, people out there like who are tuning in now and listening to us have this conversation, they're probably hearing this for the first time. But the idea of that act in itself is so revolutionary, and it does a lot of work in that decolonization of Kirtan and of our practice of Sikh music, in a very subtle but really incredibly powerful way, where you've reclaimed a practice that was destroyed and taken away during those years of colonization in Punjab, and you recreated it in the land where the people from that land were the ones who actually took it away. And I think that's incredible, very, very powerful and commendable. And I'm grateful to have you as a mentor and a teacher in my life to, inspire that same courage within me as well to take the actions to decolonize. And that's what I invite everybody who's tuning in to do, that the things that challenge you or the things that make you uncomfortable, lean in towards them, research them and understand them in more depth so you can see where your learning is in that process and how you can contribute to change. And Yogi Ji, I want to ask next is, how can somebody who doesn't know anything about Sikh music or anything about Sikh values for that matter, use Mere Mun as an emotional self-help kit?
Composition of Sri Guru Granth Sahib is based on human psyche. The composition, if we can build this, our life, alongside 60 rag, 60 moods, it will give us a leverage of understanding ourselves so that we can make a right decision, right way. It's important. It's betterment of our psyche. It's a different composition. So Guru's giving us those things, those tools. But again, we are the seekers of life. And through sound, we need to train ourselves what suniya is and what kavya is. I mean, how to express, how to listen and what to listen. What is this prescription and how it works? So we get to learn this from our gurus. That's what Sikhi is. If I know in one sentence or one paragraph, I would have put it in book, but it's not like the Sikh is based on experience, not on knowledge. So not through the words, not through a beautiful poetic lines, I can say this. It is just basic experience of one's own life. If you can't connect with you cannot connect with anything.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
to connect to you, the emotional kit, the tools are provided by the Sikh gurus, giving us the clock of life, 60 rags, so that we can meet our mind, so that we can greet our soul. Then everything is just clear. You connected, you stay connected. But we somehow want to connect with God, but we're afraid of ourselves. It doesn't work like this. We need to open the eye of mind and soul. That's why I called it Mere Mun, my mind.
Mm,
It is conversation from my soul to my mind,
beautiful.
using Guru's blessing, Guru's Bani, to connect with myself so that I can connect to the true teaching of my master.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Yogi Ji, for sharing that. And finally, if you could do this project again, what would you do differently?
Many things. I made some mistakes. I'll correct those. Like I learned way later on that Mangalacharan was at top. And some Dopade, I where one reference was supposed to be sung and it was clearly defined at the top. I was supposed to put two lines together. I, at that time, didn't, what happened, I have no idea. So I'll correct those. I will sit down and spend more time to make sure that no information is missing. Like in the book with Mere Mun, there is some information like um, some of the chords in the rag, like in Tanasari, something is missing. Um, Also, I now would like to give the translation not a Westerner's viewpoint. I would like to go more clear on what is the influence on the meanings of the Shabad from the experience angle. I'll then translate the Shabad and share it, what I receive, what I feel from that angle. I would like to do it.
Mm.
Um, I try to do it since then, and I think if you ask me 2 years down the line when I'm done with another Mere Mun again, then I'll have something else to do, because that's how it is. Satguru Mera Neet Nawa. So every day evolves like nature, pervades
Mm.
itself through the nature to us, and so it's brand new. That experience, our experience of today, gonna make sure that tomorrow is different. So
Mm.
the experience with Shabad. Shabad is an experience which grows every day.
Thank you for that. And I know that you are um, a man of many talents and many gifts, and there's so many things you're always creating and wonderful projects that you're working on. For everybody who's now being introduced to Mere Mun for the first time, and those that already know about Mere Mun, what do they have to look forward to that you're working on to follow on from this project of Mere Mun?
On something related to this is um, there's, as Raj Academy being charity, non-profit in different parts of this on planet Earth, US, Canada, Germany, Europe, or England, um, even in India, our operations are happening. So um, I'll encourage people to just to understand the primary things, the basic things. That how do we take that first step toward Guru and Guru's Hukum? How do we do that? And how do we begin our journey? The second thing I'm doing is on the other side. If you haven't seen yet, please do go and check this out. Go to yogiofsound.com, and that's where I'm now planning to build the clock of life. Spend 5-6 weeks on a rag based on all the 60 rags, the training, so that all the emotional property, how to feel them, how the mood influences, the magic of Guru's Bani, how does it happen? You can say this is a phase 2, but this time I don't want to just record it. I want to take everybody with me alongside that journey. So I'm preparing those things for the future generations, so they don't
Mm.
end up, or they don't say that, oh, well, our elders didn't leave anything for us. So that's what I'm preparing for.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Yogi Ji. This has been a fabulous conversation. I've learned many new things, and I hope that everybody who was tuning in also did. Um, Thank you for taking the time to answer our questions. Um, and for everybody else who's still with us, thank you so much for spending your evening or your afternoon, wherever you're located, with us to talk about this really powerful and incredible technology given by the Sikh gurus of Rag Kirtan, music for wellness, not just for your spiritual development, but for your mental and emotional empowerment. I remind you again that today is the last day that you can access your emotional learning toolkit. The link is on the screen. If you haven't already s- signed up for it, please do that now. It will take you on a journey of experiencing practically how the rags can help you to understand and translate your emotions. it's not language that we're in our society accustomed to using, but it will allow you to see your life from a gurmat focused lens and translate your real lived experiences in a healthy way so you can process that energy and allow it to heal within you. So Gurbani has the practicality of healing you, and this is the technology that the gurus invoked for us to access that. Please take advantage. Today is the last day that you can access the emotional listening toolkit. And on that note, I will say thank you to each of you for spending your evening, taking your time, being with us in this space, sending us your positive vibes. I bid you a wonderful evening and a beautiful farewell. Thank you very much.